literally covered.
Lag.
G'day. I'm not gonna have my webcam on for this, but I hope you guys are all having a good one. Here's Roblox. This isn't gonna be a particularly long stream. Maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Just going over my overall thoughts on our game, which we have since released. Yeah, Tracer. So you can pick it up at, I'll post in the chat, RevisionZ.itch.io Tracer. You can also find it on my profile here. So yeah, you guys have access to my itch page already. Wow. We have put a good bit of time and effort into this project as a whole. I definitely would like to say congrats to my teammates, and honestly, I think it came together pretty damn well. I think there's definitely a lot. I'm super glad that everybody was so. To explain a little bit of something. At the start, in my school holidays, I don't know, I created a couple live streams and videos which you guys may have seen. During that, I had a 2-week break. That was probably about somewhere between like there was maybe like 4 or so weeks ago, I think. I think we had like 4 weeks to work on this project, so taking that in mind, I'd assume it's been about 4 weeks. Maybe 5 or something, I don't know. But yeah, myself and Jacob spent probably about a week doing some pitch stuff. I was just thinking if I can actually find it, that'd be beneficial. I believe I have it here. I mean, so we worked on this as well as the other one. So we put a lot more time into the other one. This one we put up and have been going over. This is just talking about, so we spent probably a good amount of time because we would, gather our feedback that we received. What did we think worked well? What do we think worked not so well? And then trying to come up with a rough idea of where we, I guess, wanted to go with this. That included some mirror work. So for anybody who hasn't seen my last devlogs and whatnot, yeah, we got a, what is this? We got a mirror board, and I'd recommend checking out Miro. Amy, if you're interested, there is. You can do like an education account so you can have more boards, but we've been plotting up a heap of stuff. So this was our original prototype stuff, and then we've got like, we broke down like played a heap of games, for references. Hey, awesome. So played heaps of references, gathered them as well as playing them because obviously you want to check them out. Ruben went through and said what he likes and what he dislikes. Found some stuff. So none of these here outside of I think Blood Thief is part of these. So these are like on top of that extra games that we've gotten reference from some genres. Trying to pick up just and get like a overall idea of what we want to do for everything. And honestly, I think that was definitely beneficial. Spending that first, well, I guess it would be second week of my holiday, mostly working on this. Did take quite a bit of time, but I think it was beneficial to helping us get started ASAP effectively. And we've got one for the next one, and I'd argue that we haven't filled out any of this, but we do have like a full-on game design document for the next game, so hopefully we can get started on that one pretty much as soon as possible. I think we may be having a team meeting later this week or early next week, I guess, to see where everybody's thoughts are and if there's anything. I mean, I do think one thing that we ran into that was brought up by I think a couple people was lack of, sometimes there was a bit of bad communication. Now that could be one of two things. That could either mean they don't understand, I mean I'd have to go and ask, but there could either be lack of understanding the overall project that we're working on, or communication could just be, like we had 2 people gone for effectively half the project, both coders, and then we had our other coder. He was here and there because I think he had to go to the hospital for a couple of things, which was unfortunate. So, I mean, he seems all good now, which is good. But unfortunate as we were like, almost out of, I guess, coders for half the thing. Well, definitely when Corey wasn't there. So it led to a lot of struggles in this, and there was a lot of stuff that we effectively had to, go, hey, I really liked this, and I think it would be great to add to the game, but at the end of the day, I don't think we have the time. Like, to me, one of the things that I think would be really, really nice is if we had 10 levels. To me, 10 levels would be really, really good. And we blocked out 10 levels, like, very I would say very rudimentary blocking, if that. Because one, it wouldn't work with the current gameplay, and two, some of those levels were as simple as definitely our first levels were very simple as we were going more into I think with those we were going pretty heavily into trying to teach the player the concept of each gameplay system, and you'd slowly be introduced to the different gameplay systems. But and that could have been really cool. Didn't have enough time to let it cook, you know what I mean? So a bit unfortunate with that. There's a lot of stuff that we've kind of had to cut out, so there's some things that may or may not make sense, but hopefully we've tried to bridge the gap and everything. Nice slow cooking indeed. And yeah, so I think at the end of the day, I think we've done as good as we could in the context of how much time we've actually had to work on things. So I'm honestly pretty satisfied with the overall game. I think we've done a very good job, and I think you know, I'd still say a solid like 90% of the stuff is done. There's a couple things, nitpicks that I have that I personally, I shouldn't open it through here because it won't open. There's a couple of nitpicks I have, and at the end of the day, I think a good chunk of people were very much, you know, oh, it's the, you know, final day, we've only got a couple hours remaining. I mean, it's due 10 p.m. today, so, you know, we could still be working on it, but everyone was just like, nah, let's just end it here. So, at the end of the day, I do think there's some things that we could have spent a bit more time on, sorry. There's a lot of changes that I ended up making at the end. Also, we got a heap of feedback at the end. We were getting some feedback and bugs, courtesy of Rumi, one of our team members, as she posted the build into her Discord, who has quite a couple people, and they were interested in checking out and playing the game, which is great. Unfortunately, I don't believe they either sent the feedback, and I don't believe they sent it. I think they sent it like pretty late in regards to when we were working on things, maybe around like 4 p.m., which is when we're trying to start end the project and stuff, which is unfortunate. But I do heavily appreciate it, and if we end up spending more time on it, you know, we'll go and implement it. And we got the most of what we needed from the Discord. So there's a bit of stuff that we have missed, and I do think was good. I think at the end of the day, there's a couple nitpicks that I have. I mean, last minute change that I heavily disagree with personally was dev timers. One of our team members changed the dev timers very last minute. So the dev timers was just like, I mean, it's kind of in the name, right? Our, I guess, best time that we kind of achieved within the levels. You know, his thoughts were, you know, the dev timer is only a couple seconds better than, you know, the platinum timer. So it's kind of a waste having the dev timer, which in my opinion, I knew we were going to have to do a dev timer, but you know, there was we did bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. I was kind of thinking we were going to do platinum as dev timer, but this was way earlier, so I'm mixing up the times a little bit here. But anyway, changed that. I completely disagree with it because he basically, somebody in Rumi's server posted time, really good times, you know, super quick. Downside, there is an exploit in the game, and I'm not going to state anything. I'm not going to, you know, spoil anything. I think one of the good things in these sorts of games is if there's a couple things left in that it may be a little cheesy, and allow you to kind of get some really crazy times, which we ended up leaving in a couple of those techniques at the cost of a in quotation, arguably more buggier game. Because I think it really allows a lot of people to think outside of the box and allow them to kind of, you know, if you try to break down a game, I think you can spend a lot of time and really achieve some great things. Now, the downside is the dev times are now based on somebody that isn't a developer, nor helped really develop. They gave feedback and stuff, which is great, but, you know what I mean? Not a developer, as well as utilizing, you know, cheesy techniques that aren't intended methods of playing. To me, that's a lot of what I really personally dislike that, and I have a very big disdain towards it. I don't mind if we leave it in for the submission, because I doubt the teachers would even hit the dev timers that we had hit anyway before, as they got heaps of games to play through, so you know what I mean. But at the end of the day, I don't know, I may bring it up again at a later stage. I personally, to me, I don't think I have no issue with people. I endorse people, you know, trying to break down the games. I think that's a great thing to do. But I don't think, you know, scores for a game should, you know, be reliant on using cheese methods that aren't, you know, that are arguably bugs per se. To me, that's kind of like, you know, I don't know. I think it ruins kind of the fun of it, really. Like, to give an example, there's a test level here where we tested a lot of stuff. I'll quickly bring this up to explain it. So, I mean, we can go here. We have this thing, which is this trophy here. Now, this is a dev timer. These have been set for each level. The issue is, to me, I just don't think these should be cheesed. You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, doing everything right while playing the game naturally should give you that. Okay, I disagree when it comes to using methods that aren't integral and part of the game naturally. They're kind of like stuff. So, for example, if I were to play this level naturally, 4 seconds, you get a bronze. That's not even a silver. I think a lot of things here that I think, at the end of the day, I think we probably need to spend a bit more time refining. You know, this is nobody's fault. We were fucking trying to rush. But I think there are some things here that really should have been refined. Like, that's still a pretty decent time. Not even a bronze. I mean, to hit a keep hitting continue. Sorry about that. Effectively, to hit, like, a decent time, you gotta sneakily get this. Yes, I'm spoiling the level. That gets me a gold. Almost a platinum issue. Oh my gosh! I keep pressing continue. Let me restart. Hit that. And there we go. Got a platinum. Now, that's great and all. The legitimate... Now, bear in mind, I believe the dev timer for this level is in the negatives. Because somebody managed to get in the negatives. And I pressed the same. It's gonna just start frustrating me. The only way to hit dev timer in this, not by playing the game naturally, not by being good at the game, is by, I believe if I spam shift. Okay, what is it? The issues, you gotta do it, wow, you gotta spam, so RR, a little bit weird, but you gotta press RR to restart the level, and you gotta spam shift effectively to hit it. So it's like effectively spam shift, or are we gonna bug? What is it? I guess the game wants to bug now. And this is also why I think this isn't good to have, because if people are making the most of these sorts of bugs here, right? Effective bugs, then potentially nobody can hit it because you're cheesing using methods that shouldn't really be part of the game. There we go. You can see it there. So it looked like I froze. There we go. So see how I effectively start out over here? So, I mean, I'd have to get used to using that cheese method because we didn't really find out about that cheese method mostly until... Yeah, I heard you did that and I mentioned that. And this is kind of what I just heavily dislike. The fact that I couldn't even replicate that time or even well because that is so inconsistent, that like cheese. Yeah, so somebody got in the negatives. Same level, we didn't change anything. They managed to get in the negatives using that method. And that's something that I genuinely think needs to be changed. I don't think you should be able to... the dev time should be reliant on that. That effectively means that not even me as a dev, and I by all means, I'm not the best person at these levels. But if like, effectively, like, at the end of the day, if none of our devs can hit this dev time, then I think that is a complete waste and it's just disingenuous, and I don't think it's great. At the end of the day, I think you should strive to hit it, and I think it still should be achievable. Every other game that I've played that utilizes these sorts of things, for example, Hoverflow, they have the ninja times, right? Ninja times are plenty hittable. Hell, I've seen ninja times set at 50 seconds, and I've seen people hitting, like, you know, in the 20s because they're just that good. I think the skill of the game, and I think the you know, the fun of it should be trying to improve your score, not trying to hit an arbitrary goal that you may never hit because it's using cheese methods. I'm completely against that. I do genuinely think I'm going to change that because to me, it's just like a really painful thing. I don't think we should do that. If you can't consistently replicate it, I don't think it should be a thing. You know what I mean? Within reason, right? As long as you're getting, like, within a couple milliseconds, it's fine. I mean, I don't expect us to be able to hit a dev time every single time because that's meant to be the dev PB. But you catch my drift, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think any of us have tried to hit the goal, nor even hit it. And utilizing that, a lot of that's very cheesy methods, I think. Hold on, let me find a good level for this. I think... potentially level 4. I think, like, an example of this would be going... like, this is an example of, for example, so 16 seconds. Boom. I'm not actually too sure what the dev time is. I'll have to check. What level is this? Level 4, I believe. Let me see what the dev time is for that. But I don't think, like... Hey, Jake-tastic. They'll be behind the vid. The reason... Oh, sorry. Oh my god. I can't... Every single time I try to... Oh, there we go. Sorry. I was letting this pop up. Little behind in the vid. The reason I made the dev time change is because quite literally have no dev time apart from one person. More than happy later if we did update. Yeah. We never updated it. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, for the submission, it doesn't matter. I doubt the teachers would hit it, but I do personally believe that, you know, if we can't replicate it too well, I just personally disagree with setting it as that. Natural cheese. If we never update it again, I can't do it attempt. So, yeah. I mean, we could have always underscoped it. At the end of the day, to be free level in 2 seconds. Yeah, fair. That's fair. At the end of the day, I do, you know, I would like us to continue working on this potentially if we are interested. What level is this? Level 4? I'm intrigued on what the dev time is. I don't know. I think it's on the goal. Okay, so 22. So, like, for example, I beat that by quite a bit. I just do think that, I don't know how long you've been here, Jake-tastic Gaming. I think the overall thing that I mentioned, I don't know if you missed the start of my little rant here, was effectively two things. I don't think the dev time should be based on utilizing cheese solely because it may, for whatever reason, not be replicatable on some people's devices or instances and stuff like that. So the cheese method, right? Pressing double R and spamming shift, right? If I double R and do it, this level's inconsistent with, you know, getting that to work. There's not much that I could have done there. I press continue. Like the crazy guy I am. Oh well, you kind of catch the drift. You can't moderate it, completely agree. And that's why if it is, you know, even if we leaned back, we allowed them, you know, a little bit higher than our goals. I completely agree. That was one thing I mentioned earlier. I think game bugs should be utilized. I think okay, I'm not going to say anything. That's the only bug that I'm going to say. I'm not going to repeat anything else. Solely because I want people to, if anybody's watching this that wants to play a game, I want them to find out the game bugs and glitches and stuff like that. But I think personally, if you hit a goal, for example, you utilize a bug and absolutely like obliterate any time that you've gotten, and then it's just like that dev time is still nowhere near to be hit, and the reason for that is because they use, like, for example, just one crazy bug, or they used, you know, they got a little bit luckier with their route. I don't know. To me, it's kind of a bit off-putting because I'm just like, wow, I thought I mean, I cheesed this. I used cheats, well, you know what I mean. Like, you know, it's kind of like if they were running on the ground because we didn't fix the running ground issue, and then stuff like that, and then it's just like, dude, I did everything. I wasn't even playing the game naturally. And I still couldn't even hit the goal. Then it's like, you know, is that goal even there? Is it a legitimate thing? I don't know. At the end of the day, I do think, I think all dev times should be hittable. I think it should be hittable to everybody. And I think as long as that's the thing. Now, you know, I do think leniency, right? I still think it should be as hard as, you know, we can make it so that your natural person can still do it. Go skedaddle. Oh, good. Best luck on your journal. Flick me a message, by the way, if you want any assistance or reference to what I did, because I will, you know, I can flick you over what I did, for example. Because I think some things we will write will be really similar. Anyway, have a good one. Best luck with the journal. I will continue along with my thoughts and stuff. My overall things that I think could have been better. So I think moving along, to be fine, I'll get my friend. Yeah, that's fair enough. Best of luck. I think I still really wish we had the 10 levels. We were never going to do it. I think if our coders were here the whole time, I think we would have hit the 10 levels, and I think that would have been really good. At the moment, I do think 5 levels is a good time. I think when I say a good time, I think I would never go under the 5 levels we currently have. I think it's perfect for a very quick game. I think you can probably finish the game in probably, like, realistically, you could probably finish a game in under 5 minutes if you're using the cheesy methods, as I mentioned. There's multiple of them. Some are better than others, but I don't want to mention anymore. I like staying away from those cheese methods because, you know, I like people trying to find these you know, things out on themselves. There's, like I mentioned, we've kind of left a good chunk of them and without anything crazy. Like an example, sorry. Let me change this. At the moment I have it launching in standalone editor. I'm going to launch it in Pi editor. New editor Pi. There we go. Ignore the fact that everything looks hella dithered. It's better in the build we just ran into an issue where, for some reason, the build and the standalone looks a bit different. So we had this thing where you could run across the ground and your, I guess, speed of movement would not slow you down. And so you'd be able to just choose it, like, for example, that. Now, that's not an entirely viable method anymore. I'll leave it at that. But feel free to expand upon my insinuations, I guess. But yeah, I think 10 levels would be really awesome. It would give us more time. At the moment, we, as of today, kind of pumped out a sandbox tutorial. I still think I wish we could have done a better method. We couldn't have done a better method for this. You may be like, why use red? Now bear in mind it's a bit more readable if you're checking out the build, just because of the way that our pixel filter thing works, I guess. Basically, what looks good here doesn't look good in the other thing. Oh, this got changed. But no clue when this got changed. Minor nitpick that I had, we've kept the double exclamation marks. Personally, generally it's an un-ish professional thing to include. I do think this was something that, which is fine at the end of the day, but something that I, you know, at the end of the day, if you overuse exclamation marks, then it kind of loses its, I guess, effect. And that's something that is very easy to go overboard with. So luckily we don't have much text and we don't have too many, but it's something I'm always quite careful of not overusing. Something that I think could be improved on here, which we didn't have the time to. I mean, there's a lot of things. At the end of the day, it's very easy. I think if this was positioned slightly less of a curve, we probably would be able to come out of this a bit easier, because as you can see, when you jump, you sort of have to boost your way back in again, or get lucky through one of these gaps. I think you could possibly get a better one if I went here. If I jump into this, oops. Okay, well I sort of missed it, but you get the idea there. Added these, a couple assets in. I've run out of boost, which is unfortunate. I think if we had more time, something I would have liked would be like a boost reset here. We didn't have the time for getting boost to reset, was always a bit of a pain that we found. But just in case, you would be able to boost reset. Something did we go? RMB to shoot targets, each target, press E. Okay, so they at least added, press E to slow time for assistance. Potentially would have reworded that from assistance to potentially press E to slow down time, to slow time for ease of aim or something. Shift to boost, space to jump. Downside, as I was mentioning just before, if you've already hit your double boost, it can be kind of hard to hit to get that, unless you time things well. Well done. Once again, wouldn't have used the 3 exclamation marks. I actually did write this, and then we ended up having to rewrite it over because of some issues and some merge conflicts. So yeah, once again, personally wouldn't have done that. And hey, maybe if we end up coming back to these things, we may change them. Yeah, I just personally like to keep my grammar and stuff going pretty well. Overall, I think we get some pretty cool levels. I don't really want to show too much more than I've shown already in these. Well done! Well, as I'd like you guys to see and explore the levels, I would like to recommend checking out what's happened here. This is one of our test levels, I see. I would like all of you guys, if possible, to hit the 5th level. Let's just say there's a lot of additions that myself and my team have worked on on level 5, and I think is pretty. I think it's a really cool level. I want you guys to check it out. Let's just say, without spoiling too much, there's a progression of like sort of like daytime. Like, there's not like a day and night cycle, but you know, there's a progression throughout time within the levels, and that's all I want to say. It leads to a pretty cool vibe. That's all I'm gonna say. How does this play? Because everything's not really set up properly. This is kind of comical. So when I was importing the target here, I ended up having to make it humongous in comparison to the player, because otherwise, the player, like, it's something about readability, right? It's a bit weird for them to be super big like this, but at the end of the day, I wanted them to be readable from afar. Another nitpick here. I wanted the cloth to be on here, and you'll see a little bit of like what looks like a seam here. No, that's mesh merging into each other. But I wanted it to add the cloth go around. I fluffed up my texture set, sorry. And I sort of wish I went and fixed that, but I was kind of running out of time. We were getting quite busy with a lot of stuff. Whoa. Oh, let's jump to the other side from here. You can. There's the timer? Oh no. Crazy, I hit platinum. Guessing the dev time would be. Let me see if I can. If the burst, I'm guessing it'd be 0 would be the dev timer. Oh, I missed it. No! Very well. That's kind of funny. It'd be something the new and improved testing. That was Ruben. It's been a Ruben hint in, I think, 2 prototypes, and I guess this one, so I'd probably assume there'll be a Ruben hint in the next one. But yeah, overall, I think I'm pretty happy with the game. What time is it? 20 minutes. Debating how much more I want to talk about and chat. Thing is, on one side, I'm really interested in just like playing through the whole level, but I think there's a couple levels that we've spent okay, let me rephrase this. Every level we've spent quite a bit of time refining and doing the level design and doing set dressing and getting the feel and vibe of each level, and I don't really want to spoil some cool things that we've done and added. I did do a video. I don't know if we're debating about doing a trailer. It's heavily compressed. I mean, you're watching a compressed video. I compressed this from like 4 GB to like 200. So for some reason it's like 1080p. I thought I chose it to be 1440p, but oh well. So it's a bit compressed, but that's fine. That's a bug. I really wish we fixed this. For some reason, the decals go over the characters' arms and stuff. Didn't ever find a fix. I think probably the best and only fix would be reducing the width of the decal, but oh well. Something we can't change. Yeah. So you can see me playing through the game here. This was almost never got done. I don't want to show anymore. That was the 2nd level, I believe. This is the 3rd level, which I don't. I think it was cool. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think we've done pretty good. Some things that I think if we were to improve and now bear in mind a lot of what I'm saying here is nitpicky, but I think I'm fairly strong-minded on some of these things, like the dev time thing. I feel quite passionate towards those sorts of decisions. That's just me. I think it depends on what you're going for, really. Depends on the difficulty you want of hitting those dev times and stuff. But yeah, I think I'm pretty passionate with a lot of these things, and I think it's just because I want our game to be as good as possible, and I think we're all amazing, and you know, I think we're all pretty passionate towards what this game's turned out to be, and so a lot of these sorts of decisions can be, you can get some conflicting thoughts, because some people are really passionate towards one way and some people passionate towards other ways. But yeah, I think some things that we need to work on and improve for our next thing. I think this is something that is the most painful thing, and there's nothing you can do about it, and just hope that people kind of learn. I cannot change this for other people. And it's going to be communication. I think there's been always confliction of ideas. I think there's been people not vocal. I think this is something that I think this is very important personally. I think vocality, especially in group projects, is key to making the most refined and perfected game that you as a team can possibly make. If you disagree with something like that dev timer, I personally disagree with it, and I was making it vocal. We didn't change it, but I think it's still valuable. Why do if I dislike and disagree with a choice, I think it's important to be vocal about it. If, Jacob is heavily dislikes a feature or has his own thoughts, I think it's very vital for him to be vocal about it, and same with everybody, right? Because at the end of the day, I think it leads to two things. Complacency. You're complacent with reasons of things happening, and you're complacent with mechanics and stuff like that. But because you didn't voice it, you didn't voice your thoughts and concerns, you can't refine. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, one person's not going to be able to create the greatest game that there is. It's about teamwork and combining each other's thoughts to create what we believe to be, I guess, the best decisions possible with the greatest reasons. And I think there's a lot of occasions where a lot of people are pretty happy with plotting away with choices that they may disagree with. And I think that's a very missed opportunity to, one, provide further input into the game, like their own input, I should say, as well as and like, bear in mind, this isn't just like this team thing. This has been an issue for like pretty much every team project I've been in, like outside of even this team. Like, I think it's a common issue that a lot of teams will run into, is complacency with decisions. At the end of the day, some people may just not really have much that they want to provide towards a game idea, but I do think that's a little bit disappointing. I think, to me personally, it shows that you are passionate towards the project. If you are showing that you wish, you're trying to help make this game. If you're, providing feedback and reasons for things, then you're obviously putting, a lot of thought and passion behind a project. And that's, to me, like, if I add something and somebody disagrees with it, like, wholeheartedly, I mean, at the end of the day, it may not be changed depending on the reasons for things, right? Sometimes because maybe it's just not possible. But at the end of the day, it shows passion, and you know, I want to make sure that when I'm working on projects, I want to be working with people that are passionate towards the project. And if you're not passionate, I think that can sometimes be a missed opportunity. And it can be kind of frustrating. So I do hope that everybody within maybe, you know, our future projects get a bit more, you know, passionate and feel free, you know, feel free. There's no, like, nobody's, if somebody genuinely gets annoyed at you for sharing your opinions on these sorts of things on the game and what you think would be better, you know, maybe you know, your thoughts are not, maybe you think it's the best way, and then after a bit of thought, you know, maybe it turns out to not be as good. But I still think that, like, regardless of it, I think it should be voiced, and I think everybody would be happy to hear it. And if somebody's not happy about it, then honestly, stuff you, because, you know, I endorse anybody to share their thoughts, and I think that's one of the most important things to making a great product. So anybody that disagrees with that, then honestly, stuff you. You're open to your own opinions, but I think, you know, shutting off other people's opinions is a complete waste of time, and I don't think that's how you get the best product that you could make. Another thing that I think is important to consider for future projects would be, I mean, I think probably the biggest thing realistically would be hopefully our whole team being there for most, if not the whole time. With half our team being gone for pretty much half the project, that was a very limiting factor to our abilities here. So yeah, another thing I want is, now this project was kind of limited because the more stuff you do, the, I guess, more stuff that's required. But I really want more stuff to model and stuff like that. I was solely on environment art. This pretty much, I did a bit of, not environment art, material work. I want to do environment art for the next one. I am doing environment art, and I know there's a heap of models that we're going to be needing and making, but I think that is going to be heavily beneficial to me. I really wish we had more stuff to do, and unfortunately, I guess I have my Excel open, I can show it. You know, my last bit, you know, I'm making maybe my last while, I'm not making too many new assets. The last, you know, 2 sessions of, you know, 16 hours, the last, I guess, 16 hours worked on the project, you know, was, I guess the only asset that I actually ended up making was like this lantern, for example. Stuff like that. So I don't know. There were times where, like, you know, an 8-hour day, the only assets that I'm kind of making is like, for example, a couple materials. Okay, bear in mind, by the way, if somebody is like looking at these times taken, I do want to preface it's not necessarily time taken is like 2.5 hours to make these assets. It's including sourcing assets, assets being, for example, this icon here, making sure it's free to utilize, because I'm not going to make it myself, right? That's a bit of a waste of time. Otherwise it'd be longer. That's sourcing references, that's sourcing, you know, that's importing into the project, making sure that everything fits and works well with our current setup, compression and all of our art style changes. So some of these may seem like weird times, but I mean, here, like 2.5 hours for a heap of materials. I was kind of going kind of ham with that one, because a lot of these ended up taking, I think these two only took about like 15-30 minutes, another 30 minutes. And this one took most of my time there. So yeah, something interesting to note. But making sure, I think the key thing for these sorts of projects, especially because we've only got like a month to work on them, is making sure you're pumping out assets quickly. That's something that I know a lot of you guys have done team projects before. Amy, you may be able to, you know, relate is if you've ever got people that are, you know, maybe on the slower end of things and take a while to create assets and do stuff, and especially when a lot of stuff is reliant on that. Oh, you're pretty slow, you reckon? I'm always down to help you with some techniques that I do to speed me up, but just like to make sure you do it right. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it depends. I think if you're doing animation, I think can be a bit trickier. There's a lot more methodical stuff. If it comes to making models, I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do to make sure. I think it's about there's a lot of techniques you can do to help speed you up, I guess. And I could go over them one day with you if you ever want. But yeah, making sure that you're not spending too long. I mean, depending on the asset, if you're making like a big, good asset that you're going to be seeing pretty often, then go right ahead, right? Like, I really liked this castle wall, and I wanted to make some really banging looking castle walls, and I knew, you know, would be using this for a lot of assets. I spent a lot of time on it, breaking down tutorial. Something like this wood, you know, I didn't spend too long. I spent an hour, and that's because I ended up having to remake it a couple times because we had this issue, and I think some people may have misunderstood what the issue was, but some things that look good out, you know, even in the texture editor, or even look, I don't need to bring it up, may look completely different in the level, and that's just simply because of the way that we've sort of designed the art style within the level, with like the lighting, the post-processing and stuff like that. Can completely overhaul, like these look like vibrant orange in the level, for example, whereas, you know, opening it in Substance Designer, very much not the case. When it opens up. Sorry, something nice. Stuff like that. I think, you know, you definitely have to take a sit down and think about, hold on, let me continue with what I was saying before I move on to the next topic, but I guess alt wood, I think, is it? This is it. It's not very vibranty orange, it's like a decent brightness, but nothing crazy, you know? So sometimes there's that bit of stuff there. I mean, it's not the greatest material, but a lot of these are getting compressed. I'm pretty happy with this, but at the end of the day, some things I would like some knots and stuff like that, but don't got the time for that. Nor do I know, so I'd have to spend extra time trying to figure out how that all can be done. So something that we did, for example, and you know, I wouldn't recommend this to you, Amy, but to those of you guys watching this, you know, maybe you're thinking about how, you know, you've got a limited amount of time to make a product. What's going to be best for you? Something that we heavily relied on is triplanar materials. We heavily use triplanar. Okay, that's going to select all the... Let me just grab a rock, for example. Watch this. Boom. Triplanar working in Unreal. We have a triplanar setup that I believe most of everything utilizes. That's weird positioning, as you can see there. Now this is great. You want to scale something? This saved us a lot of time. Now, if we had if there was an add-on for like Maya or Blender to Unreal and it's just like a live link, potentially it would be just as simple. You know, some minor, it'd take a little bit longer, but you'd be able to get better quality textures. But it would because obviously we get some issues here, like for example there, that's obviously not meant to happen, and you get some other stuff that's less than ideal. I think for example here, I don't know, some of these things could be slightly better. Like those wells. Oh, we've forgotten to remove that rear arrow. Oh well. But yeah, some stuff like that where I think that saves us a heap of time. and utilizing that with these, this means that instead of having to texture each object, we could just utilize one tiling texture. One that helps you guys because it means that, you know, you have, I guess, the download size is smaller, even though it's still pretty massive. I'm not actually too sure what took up most of the file size. I'd be actually intrigued to know. Because 700 megs is still pretty big, but maybe that's a lot of that is just the fact that Unreal's not great at keeping smaller sizes. File sizes, that is. But at the same time, it also runs better because you need to cool a bunch less potentially. So a lot of these are just instancing the same material. So overall, pretty good. I think, you know, we've done some pretty great jobs. Stuff. I think I'm going to end the stream here. Hopefully this was entertaining. This is more, once again, as all these are, for me personally, I like to kind of let out my thoughts here on these projects, especially as we're done on a pretty big project here. I think we definitely need to I think we definitely need to, I guess, work heavily on a couple things for our next project, and I'm intrigued, you know, if anybody is interested, I can always go over some more techniques and stuff that I think worked very well for us. I would say the key thing is I think if there's any advice that I could give to my audience, I mean, yeah, I do know that there's some people that watch me that are like a lot better at these sorts of things than me, like making games and stuff like that. So, you know, take this with a grain of salt depending on where you're at. Maybe you know this better than me, but I think there's a level of complacency that should be met. Just make sure you are aware of that level and don't abuse that. For two things, I think you need to have a form of complacency. For example, we've got this weird issue with this beam. Why does that go funky like that when you get closer? And like, what even is this? Not too sure. We didn't know what it was, and we couldn't be bothered figuring it out. The fundamental of it is working fine, and honestly, if you played through the game, would you have known that that wasn't intended? Possibly not. Let's be real. So, at the end of the day, I think there's a level of complacency. Some stuff like this, we've got a tree kind of fading through the wool. The chance of you even looking back here are very slim, right? A lot of our gameplay decisions kind of push away from that. I do think, realistically, we probably should have removed all these trees, though. I mean, unless you manage to get out, I guess it can be nice to see them all. But at the same time, maybe we're drawing when drawing performance, I guess, may take a hit to performance. I'm not too sure. Depends on if culling is already in an engine or not. But yeah, making sure you're aware of that. There's some things that I think, you know, let's put it this way. There's a level of complacency that can happen that is also a net negative. An example of this is we were not going to have levels like this, right? To put it actually simply, I can't. If you saw our first, I was just about to pause the live stream because sometimes when I go to search things up, I pause stuff, but obviously I can't pause the live stream. If I go to my videos, sorry, and show off, for example, even this.
Hope you guys are all having a good one.
Where's our? Here's our levels. I actually believe this. I actually had to push for it to be changed from this. There was a point during one of our team meetings where I'm just like, I mean, oh no, we were talking to the teachers, I believe, for feedback, and I mentioned, they said something about some of these will need to be potentially moved and stuff like that, and I said these aren't even the final ideas. This is just blocking. We're gonna completely overhaul these with assets that are part of the level, and after that, I had like some of the guys who were just like, are they? I wasn't aware of that. Which was kind of surprising. Because maybe we had a different level of where we were thinking these are going. But I definitely think, like, if you, look at this compared to what we have now, imagine if we had stuck with that. Now, that's not to say that we were going to stick with that, but I do think that we're definitely going to focus on at least only background assets and still keeping these. So imagine, this was the game. We actually have the builds of this back then. I've got, I think, 8 or 9 or 10 builds, different builds over the whole project. But yeah, I don't know. There's some things like this that are. This is actually our new first level. We ended up keeping that. But sometimes, I don't know, it's kind of funny to think about how, like, I'm so glad and thankful for that decision to be made that, that I effectively forced everybody into, I guess, refining our stuff. Hey, maybe, we were going to get here anyway, but I think there's a level of complacency. Sometimes people are complacent and they're just like, oh, you can get away with just these. I think that if we had remained that complacent, we wouldn't get the levels and the designs that we have today. And I'm glad that I brought that up then. Because otherwise, potentially, this would be a very different looking game. At the other side, I do think there's a level of complacency. If it ain't completely broke, then don't need to fix it. I think there's a level that you should pay attention to that quote, really. There's some things that should still be fixed at the end of the day. If it doesn't impact the game, and I think the player's never going to really notice it, then it's fine to keep in. But if it's something that at the back of your mind you're just like, yeah, we need to change this. Let's be real. That's something that to me, like, there's kind of like the dev timer. To me, I think we kind of changed it, and it ain't really on anybody's. I potentially could have made it more vocal that I disliked it. I did say I disliked it, but I could have been more vocal. We were running out of time and we just needed to get it in. Stuff like that, I think, to me, a lot of that stuff's kind of important. But yeah, at the end of the day, hope you guys all having a good one. I hope you this video was helpful, or live stream, I guess. But anybody that's watching this post live stream, I hope this was still helpful. I hope it was entertaining. Yep, flip me a comment. What you dislike, what you like about the game. I'd love to know. And yeah, I think the only other thing I got to say is check out the game. Because we make this game to be played, and we put a lot of time, hundreds of hours combined into making this as good as possible. So it's made to be played. Check it out. Hope you like it. If you dislike it, please tell us what you dislike about it, and we will improve that. Maybe be there in this project, because we may come back to it at some point, or even if not, we can help apply it into our future projects. That's super vital. If you love it, let us know what you like, because once again, it's great to know what people like about these things. But yeah, thank you. Have a good one. Also, thank you guys for watching, all of you. But yeah, thank you for popping by, Amy, as always, and thank you, Jake Tastic, for popping by and having a little chat. And yeah, thank you. Bye bye.